The Jurassic Park series is well known for its interesting collection of deleted scenes, many of which have not only never been seen, but also never really been discussed by the filmmakers who helped create them, with movies like Jurassic Park 3 having legendarily troubled productions, while other films like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom getting around 30 minutes cut from its final release. Another entry in the series to receive this kind of treatment happens to be the original sequel to Jurassic Park, The Lost World, which got rid of a lot of cool details that helped to flesh out the world and characters of that film far more than what was in the final product. One of the least talked about omissions happens to be a scene involving a T-Rex attack, which is going to be the subject of today's video. Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, we're going to be talking about a deleted T-Rex kill scene that would have helped explain something that happens towards the end of the second film. Now during the Tyrannosaur attack on the Hunter camp, Dieter Stark's InGen driver, Carter, wakes up most of the group by shouting hysterically at the bull T-Rex that's been lured into the camp from the blood on Sarah's jacket. Just a side note, during production, this scene would be talked about extensively in notes between Steven Spielberg and David Koepp, who thought that it could be a good idea to have Roland Timbo intentionally leave the blood on the jacket to lure in the buck, but this was never really followed up on and gone over in the final release, mainly because Roland Timbo wasn't really designed to be that much of a bad person or villain when the film actually began to materialize. Anyways, during the scene where the Tyrannosaurus attacks the Hunter camp, we see the animals split up and the story branch out into two paths. The first being of the female T-Rex following the hunters through a ravine, while the second detailed Roland's tranquilizing of the male Tyrannosaur. Now, if you're a big fan of The Lost World and watch it as often as I do, you may have picked up on a lot of odd things going on right here. Namely, the absence of Peter Ludlow from the main hunter camp, as well as the fact that the scene kind of contradicts the original Jurassic Park as far as T-Rex speed goes. Remember, in the first film, we learned that these dinosaurs can reach speeds of up to 32 miles per hour, and the 93 T-Rex even chases Robert Muldoon's Jeep during what I consider to be my favorite scene in the first movie. But here in The Lost World, a full-grown Tyrannosaur that is actively trying to kill InGen hunters in order to defend both its territory and protect its family is having a really hard time of catching any of the hunters that are all running on foot. Well, there's actually a reason for that. Have you ever wondered why all of the hunters suddenly trample Carter into the ground while everyone else continues to flee? Nobody seems bothered to help him up, and the movie doesn't really explain how he got down there in the first place. Kind of odd to have just one of the hunters stumble and everyone else just run him over in the grand scheme of things, especially since a full-grown T-Rex is running behind trying and failing to catch anybody. Well, this wasn't always the case. If we go back to the actual scripts for The Lost World, and I'm actually going to be using two scripts here just to show you guys what really went down, we can see that when they were making the movie, the T-Rex actually did catch one of the hunters and killed him during the scene, specifically the InGen veterinarian, who was seen earlier on in the movie with Dr. Burke when the Pachycephalosaurus is being captured by InGen. What was originally supposed to happen can be seen in the Lost World Jurassic Park comic book by Topps, but I'm pretty sure they at least attempted to film this too, since there is behind-the-scenes footage of people running from the Rexes out there, and it looks very different from what's in the final cut. To quote one of the earlier scripts, "Some hunters try to leap up and scale the rocks, but the ravine is deepening. There's no way out. One Rex grabs hold of a hunter in its teeth and hurls him against the rock face. The second Rex picks up another hunter and snaps its massive head left and right quickly to break its victim's neck." Now keep in mind, this is an earlier draft of the movie that doesn't really fit with what's in the final cut, since we know that only the female Tyrannosaur ended up following the group. However, it does include the scene where the veterinarian dies, as does this piece of a different script, the final shooting script, dated for 1996. This one says the following: "The Rex picks up the hunter's veterinarian, who is trailing behind the others. The Rex snaps its massive head left and right quickly to break its victim's neck. The veterinarian goes flying towards and crashes into Carter, Dieter's driver, who stumbles and falls. The rest of the fleeing hunters run around or over him, but when the Rex catches up, it stomps right down on him, and when the Rex lifts its foot, we see Carter is actually stuck to the bottom." Now later on in the final cut of The Lost World, there actually is a scene where Peter Ludlow emerges from around the area in which Roland tranquilized the Buck Rex, but he's curiously soaking wet and dripping water from his clothes after presumably jumping away from the hunters and hiding somewhere outside of the ravine. Which could lead some to believe, and I'm one of them, that maybe they cut even more out of this section of the movie in order to speed up the film's pace. But if you ever pick up a copy of the Lost World's comic book, you can actually see this scene in full where the Rex kills both the veterinarian by, snapping his neck, throwing his body into Carter, and then him getting stepped on in a much more violent way, by the way, than what we saw in the actual film. In the end, I do kind of wish they added this scene back into the movie because it does help explain why the T-Rex was unable to catch anybody except the one guy that got mysteriously trampled on for some reason, but I guess it's not really that important of a scene at the end of the day. But hey, those are all just my own thoughts on the subject matter. What do you think about this deleted T-Rex kill scene, and do you wish it had been added in to the final cut? Now, whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Guys, it really means the world to me that you all continue to support what I do, and I never want you to ever forget that. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video and hope that you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.